Okay, YouTubers, this is the Angry Prepper. Thank you for watching the Angry Truth channel. So today's video, we're going to talk about who's paying for these researches and studies that are, or rather been coming out and bombarding us every day. Every day there's a new study. Every day there's a new research. Every day, guys, they're releasing some bullshit, and these studies seem to be contradicting one another at some points. We've had multiple studies in the early stages of COVID come out stating X, Y, and Z. And then a lot of it wind up being walked back after a few more months of studying, saying, okay, well, that wasn't the case. They did X amount of studies on the arm tickets, stating that it was going to save humanity, pretty much, in a nutshell. Then they had to walk that back, stating, all right, well, it's not going to save us, but it'll minimize your ailments. Still didn't happen. Still people get it severely even after being, ticketed up the ass in the arm, right? So, guys, where are these research and studies coming from? And more importantly, who's funding these research and studies? That's where the breadcrumb trail starts. It starts at the person who pays for it, and then it leads to the research study that they want to lean in their favor. Because it always happens that way, guys. If BlackRock or Vanguard Group, for example, first of all, they probably fund multiple studies around the world. They absolutely will have a study lean in their favor. Now, some scientists tell these people, I don't want any part of it because we know what you're about. And other scientists are like, well, this will fix up my lab. We can get a new hydrotron this and a proactor that and a retraction of this. And they look at that and all they see is the money. So they will fudge whatever research and study needs to be fudged. We've seen it time and time again. And more recently, we've seen the infamous study where the autism research guy, doctor, fudged numbers. And then right then and there, because he screwed up. And listen, he was on the right track. As was reported for a lot of people who read his research, he was on the right track. But the simple fact that he fudged those numbers screwed him up. And with that, guys, all the vaccine companies jumped on him. And he was toast. Done. Can't be a fucking scientist or a teacher anywhere because he did that. So, guys, again, that was on a smaller scale. And he was doing that because he was trying to protect the kids. But nonetheless, he got caught. But we have other groups, guys, like the Bilderberg Group. We have the Trilateral Commission, right? We have the Committee of 300. We have these groups of people influencing studies and research. But they don't do it directly through their name. They do it through other organizations. And they tell other organizations, sorry, well, this is the results we want. Now, guys, here's the kicker. 70% of all research are funded by private companies and or groups. 70%. They're funded by them. And majority of the time, guys, those studies lean in the direction of the private companies or groups in the direction they want it to lean in, right? So obviously, if you are Pfizer, for example, and you have a new drug on the market, well, you're going to want to make that drug work doing its trial runs. No questions asked. If you notice, guys, a lot of Pfizer's drugs, if you will, have come under question, scrutiny, and lawsuits after being on the market for a couple of years. So it passes through the initial testing phase, if you will, and then years later down the line, they find all these problems with it. The drugs, that is. And then they have lawsuits left and right. So, like anything else, guys, these studies, specifically for the arm tickets, were swung in their favor so that obviously they could push it. The FDA can push it, and the FDA already knew it was bullshit, but they pushed it anyway. You had other drugs, guys, out there on the market that Pfizer, again, presented to the FDA, and it swung in their favor. To boot, they also pay a lot of people off, but we're not going to get into that. Now, here's the difficult part, guys. Can we trust any research out there or studies? We really can't. We really fucking can't. That's the problem, guys, because if you look into a lot of the research and you see who's funded by it, you're going to automatically look at it and go, nope, this is a bullshit study. Because why is BlackRock being involved in this? Why is the Club of Rome involved in this? Why is the World Economic Forum involved in this? And the World Economic Forum, by the way, they swing a lot of research in their favor. If you look at the universities they use the same ones over and over again. And I'm pretty sure if you dived into the university's bank accounts, you would absolutely see gracious donations by these groups of people. We've seen this before, guys. We've seen research, if you will, swing in the favor of companies, cigarette companies, for example. Remember when they said cigarettes didn't cause lung cancer, and they said that it was actually healthy for you, and even doctors were smoking it? Doctors choose to smoke with Marlboro, whatever the fuck it was at the time, right? And meanwhile, people are on the iron lung and all this other bullshit, and they were misdirecting people into saying that it was good, and it was good for them, rather when it was bad, and they knew it was bad. But nonetheless, guys, we saw some of you, not me, because I'm too young for that bullshit, but a lot of you older people out there remember those campaigns when they were talking about how cigarettes were good, right? We remember when they said sugar wasn't bad, and sugar didn't cause diabetes. They pushed that bullshit. Oh, sugar doesn't rot your teeth, and it doesn't cause diabetes. Sugar companies were paying for research to swing in their favor to say that there was no cause of diabetes from sugar. We even had companies, guys, in 2017, the Mars Candy Bar Company and Coca-Cola Company, trying to divert the fact that their candies and soda cause diabetes and obesity. So again, they start these campaigns out there, guys, and we all know, first of all, we all know that the food in the United States is corrupt. The food itself is corrupt by food companies that are corrupt as well. You go to other countries, guys, and you hold up a Hershey bar here in the United States and a Hershey bar in New Zealand. You'll look at the ingredients and they're fucking two totally different ingredients. There's one ingredient from the United States that has like 17,000 ingredients, and you look at the one in New Zealand, it has 5, right? So again, you do the same thing with ketchup. If you look at ketchup in the UK, it has like 5 or 6 ingredients. Here in the United States, 2,800. All right, so I'm exaggerating, but you get my point. My point is, guys, is that these companies out here do all these research and studies. How can we trust any of them? How can we? Because years later, they'll turn around and go, well, this research is now suggesting that coffee's bad for you. 10 years later, well, now we're saying that coffee isn't bad for you. It could help your heart if you only drink X amount of coffee, 2 cups a day. So it changes, guys, as they want it to change. How do we look at any of these research and studies and take them seriously? We can't. That is the problem. And I would implore you guys to look at studies now and see who is funding these studies. You can look at it and type in who funds study for coffee, sugar, cigarettes, and you're going to see it. You're going to see it clear as day where that trail goes. Right back to the company that had a university do the study, but they're paying that university to sway it in their direction. Now, there are certain researchers out there, certain studies out there, guys, where it can't be ignored. Just can't be, right? But even then, how do you trust it? Now, like I said before, guys, most research will always go in favor of the sponsor. Whoever's paying for that research or that study, it's going to swing in their favor almost all the time. So again, we have to take even research and study now, guys, with a grain of salt. We have to be skeptical. We have to look at it with a raised eyebrow, because we just can't go, oh, look what this study said. Now, obviously, guys, when these studies come out, you got to dive into it a little bit yourself. You can't just take it at face value. You have to dive into it and see where that study's coming from, who was doing the study, and who was sponsoring it. And then when you come up with your answer, that's going to give you a better idea whether you can trust that research or study or whether you can't. Anyway, guys, other than that, this is The Angry Prepper. Thank you for watching.